Hello and welcome to another Parry's Pickups. So another week, another bundle of games. This time I think all from the town of Horsens here in Denmark, which is where I tend to get a lot of my games from. I was there this weekend with my friend Cody, and while I was there I was actually returning a game and a DVD to a store, and I was able to get a good exchange for something else. Unfortunately, one of the games I bought recently, which isn't featured in any of the Parry's Pickups yet, but was maybe mentioned on the last Tomomat Attack podcast, was Eve of Extinction, I think. So I got that and a bundle of other games, and also a wrestling Blu-ray, which I needed to return. So took them along to Horsens yesterday, and was able to return them. That was great. And I exchanged them. I bought Shawn Michaels DVD. Shawn Michaels, obviously, WWF wrestler. But I also got this game here, which is called Critical Depth. Okay, so Critical Depth is made by Single Track. Single Track is a PlayStation developer, I think primarily PlayStation. And they, back in the PS1 days, produced quite a few games for Sony, this being one of them. More famously, they did Twisted Metal 1 and 2. And they did a few others as well, and Jet Moto as well, which is a game I hear about quite often. That's worth playing, but I haven't played that one. I have, though, played Critical Depth, which is basically, and its most basic level, of course, Twisted Metal underwater. There you go. I actually expected this game to be more of a adventure type game, maybe similar to, when I say adventure, like a on-the-rail shooter like Star Fox, for example, but underwater. I don't know why I expected that, but I've seen some screenshots of it and I felt that's what the game was. No, it's more an arena-based combat game, but you're underwater. You have several different vehicles. In the first mission, I wasn't exactly sure what to do at first, because there was a little bit of a backstory to the mission. I was playing as the CIA, and I had to secure something that was underwater, power pods or something like that. So the game started, and it felt very much like I was in an arena. This wasn't like going to be a scrolling sort of on the rails type level where I was shooting lots of targets. It was an arena-based thing where I had enemies that were all trying to shoot me, and I was trying to shoot them. And there were these green things called power pods, which seemed to be something I needed to pick up, and when I got shot I dropped them and I needed to pick them up, so maybe that's another aspect to the game. I've not played it enough to tell you exactly the relevance of the power pods, but as far as I could see it, you were trying to destroy the other enemies. You have a range of weapons at your disposal, torpedoes, homing missiles, and also you have, basically how the gameplay goes is it controls the D-pad, of course, because it's an older PlayStation 1 game, and you accelerate with the square button. Up and down is inverted, which is fine for me because that's usually how I play games, but those who are used to the other way around may struggle with this initially. And then you take down your opponents. I failed pretty miserably, but the time I did spend with it, I enjoyed it. It's simple gameplay. Yeah, it's fun. I wouldn't say necessarily you need to rush out and buy this game. I don't think it's a must-have by any means, but it's a solid game with some reasonably nice graphics. It plays well. I mean, the controls are really good, as you can expect from Single Track. They do know how to develop a game, so that's good. The controls are good, and they allow you to, and they get what you want, and the gameplay is indeed fun. So Critical Depth, if you find it for a good price, I got it for, I think it was priced up at 49 kroner, so that's not bad at all. Next up, another game that I got from this same place in Horsens was Pitfall, The Lost Expedition. So effectively I was swapping out Eve of Extinction, which still never played because it wouldn't load, for Pitfall, The Lost Expedition. So this is a platform game developed by Edge of Reality. Now, Edge of Reality is a developer. I'm not 100% sure what their back catalogue looks like, or their gaming catalogue. I can, you know what? I'm going to do some very live research now on the studio who developed this particular game. So they did Pitfall Lost Expedition, which was their first original game. Shark Tale, Over the Hedge, The Incredible Hulk, Loadout, Transformers, Rise of Darkspark, and Cypher Complex, which still today hasn't got a release date, but was scheduled for PS3, Nintendo DS, and Windows. So I doubt that game's coming out. But, you know, this game has some amazing animation. It's got good graphics, and characters move in an incredibly cartoony way, and there's a lot of time spent in the animation in this game, and it is a game of general quality. The gameplay is solid and enjoyable, and it's a nice 3D reimagining of the concept of Pitfall, which is effectively, in the original Atari games, grabbing hold of a vine and swinging over pits. And you do that in this. It's not like it's so far removed it doesn't forget where it originally came from. So that's nice, I thought. It's got a good Indiana Jones jungle adventure style feel about it, which is, you know, it's handled very well, I thought. I really enjoyed the voice acting, which I think I heard Bruce Campbell lended his vocal talents to the main character. But maybe I can just check this out. Nope, it's not Bruce Campbell at all. It's Steve Bloom, who was in my book, most famous for voicing Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop. And he's done voice acting for a billion other things. He's a very prolific voice actor who has been in just about everything. A lot of anime. He does a good job here. The guy's a bit of a charmer, a bit of Indiana Jones type character. Character design isn't the most appealing in this game, but the gameplay is solid and enjoyable. It's got a few unique things going for it. Just thinking about how this game sets itself apart. You use the right stick to grab things. If you find a treasure, you have, rather than pressing a button, you move the right stick and he will snatch it, which I thought was a little unique in that respect. You meet a character who will give you upgrades every now and again. If you've collected enough relics, then you can upgrade your character. I upgraded my health on the character. You can also get maps which show you where the other collectibles in the level are, so you get more of a chance of being able to power up your character. That's a nice addition to any game like this. It gives it a bit more depth. One thing that got me a little bit was sometimes the action seemed to be a bit blurry. Say if you swing the camera around, for example, some of the background would blur slightly, which was a little bit off-putting. Maybe it's something to do with the fact I'm playing on a HD television. It could look better on a CRT. I'm not exactly sure. That wasn't so bad though. But the graphics weren't as sharp as maybe they could have been. But the graphics in themselves are actually very good. It's a bit dark in places. Again, it could be the television, but it would be nice to know if you stuck this put it on any television, you're going to be able to see what you were doing. And I managed, but it was a bit awkward at times. Minor criticisms of the game. It's not going to, be a classic game by any means that you must rush out and again put in your collection. I wouldn't say that. But if you are a fan of 3D action platformers, then this is one of the considerable quality. And you might look at this and dismiss it because it's got a generic type character. How good can it possibly be? The developer maybe hasn't got the most shining history, but well, let's look at some of these games that they did. They did the PS2 version. Oh, on PS3, they did Incredible Hulk. Now that's quite a good game. I hear. Yeah, The Incredible Hulk. That's available on PS3, so that's not so bad. Shark Tale, Over the Hedge. Regardless of these games, which I assume are of a similar quality and may also be worth checking out, I can recommend Pitfall: The Lost Expedition. It also includes Pitfall 1 and 2. Don't know how you get them yet. They're not available from the start. I assume you probably have to complete the game. If it's anything like most older games, you usually have to put a bit of legwork to get the extra features. So that's that one. Moving on to a game I played very briefly this morning, but I've been trying to collect a few sports games lately, and I like the idea of being able to have one of each type of sports game in every console I own, and I've maybe mentioned this before. So when I saw an NFL Blitz game available for the PS3, I thought I had to snap this up because I'm not a huge fan of American football games, but the Blitz series is known for its arcade-style gameplay and is a little bit more accessible than simulators such as Madden and the 2K series. So Blitz, the League 2, on that level interested me. Purely the fact that it was an NFL Blitz game and I knew it would probably be over the top and enjoyable. What I did not expect was the game to be rated an 18, which is, for a sports game, is rather unusual. Now, it boasts it's the only sports video game with a story mode exploring the darker side of pro sports. Puts the player in complete control as he ventures through the brutal on-field competition, entertaining off-field drama. So this game actually has a story mode, which I haven't sampled yet, but I'm very intrigued to try out. I did do some of the training in the game, and yeah, I was picking up the gameplay reasonably well. It seemed rather straightforward. It's broken up into segments, the first being scoring a touchdown. I think, my terminology of American football isn't so good, but I think I know what a touchdown is. You run to the line, touchdown, you score a point. So yeah, it was kind of just getting you used to the running and the tackling mechanics in the game. And there's a Mortal Kombat, modern Mortal Kombat type element to this, where if you hit, you can choose exactly the location you want to damage on your opponents. And when you do that, you get a short little sequence which shows their bones breaking in a Mortal Kombat-like fashion. You can see it there on the back of the box a little. So that's kind of cool, kind of different than a lot of other games. It's nice that they developed the Blitz concept, but I'm wondering how extreme this game actually gets, because just taking a look inside here in the manual, I can see a few more elements to the gameplay which surprised me. You can juice up your player. And as you can see in the manual there's several type performance enhancers that you can take. So quite rightly, on the back of the box, it shows you that there's language, there's drug taking, there's gambling and violence. So all the vices accounted for in Blitz the League 2. Don't know what Blitz the League 1 was like, never seen it about. But I'm assuming this is an improvement on that game. So yeah, the juicing thing seems rather interesting, and I'm very intrigued to try out the campaign mode. One criticism I have of the game is in the training mode, if you make a mistake and you don't do what they're telling you to do correctly, then they shout at you. And I don't think this should ever be a part of any game, where you're shouted at and made to feel like you're stupid for, the first time you've played the game, you want to learn how to play it, you might make a mistake. That was so jarring I had to turn the sound off, because I could not take that guy telling me I was an idiot any more times. So I don't think that should ever be a part of any tutorial in a video game, ridiculing the player. Just a personal preference, but I think most would agree that it's not a lot of fun to be shouted at when you're trying to just have a bit of fun. So, moving on to the last game in this episode. Those who are subscribed or have seen online, I have unboxed the special edition, or the 6th edition, of Little Nightmares, which is right here. So if you haven't seen that already, you can check out an unboxing and see all the lovely things you can get inside this edition. But that's the back. I'm not going to talk about that exactly. I'm going to talk about the actual game, which I spent some time with this morning. This is Little Nightmares, which is a game I thought looked incredibly interesting in its trailers. Loved the atmosphere. Looked a little bit like a Limbo type puzzle platform adventure game. It does set itself apart from Limbo in the fact that it's not purely played on a 2D plane. You can move in and out of the backgrounds. I can't remember if you can do that in Inside or not as well. Maybe you can. I just can't recall. I'd probably say it's more similar to Inside than it is to Limbo, but you're definitely going to draw comparisons there. But this game has atmosphere in spades. It's really a beautiful looking game, and you really get a sense of place in the game. And you play, I think it's a really great idea to have a character wearing a yellow rain jacket because she really stands out on the screen. It doesn't give you any sort of tutorial in how to play the game, but it's really easy to pick up and play. You've got a jump button, which is X, and then you've got the circle button, which she gets the lighter out so she can see in the dark areas. And if you hold down the square button, you can sprint. To grasp hold of ledges, you've got to press R, and also you can use R to pick up any, well, nearly any object you see in the environment around you. And you'll have to do this for some of the puzzles. You might have to move things around or place things. Well, I haven't experienced placing things yet, but I assume the fact that you can pick up objects and put them elsewhere would indicate that some of the puzzles are going to be played out by placing certain objects around. Seems to be a few collectibles as well to find if you go off the beaten track a little. You can break these statues, which seem to be something you can collect. There's also these little characters which are running around, and you can kind of help them out. It seems occasionally you see them. They're like little gnomes and they're running around. And one was in a cage, and I think I freed him. I wasn't quite sure what was going on with that, but I was able to give him a hug, and he seemed to like that. And then I had to just leave him and carry on with the game. So I wonder if that's an element of the gameplay too, to rescue these little characters who were littered around the levels. There is threat in the game. There are enemies. The first thing I encountered were these little worm creatures, which I made sure to stay away from. And then there are bigger characters. For anyone who's seen the trailers will know there's these huge human or grotesque human characters who seem to be out to get you. For what purposes? Not sure yet, but you've probably seen images of chefs. I assume they want to eat you. I think that's a good assumption, anyway. The first one I encountered was a guy with really long arms, which was very creepy, and I thought, well, I was hiding underneath beds, and I assumed he was going to get his hand underneath the bed and pull me out. But I managed to escape from him fairly easily. I really like the progression in this game. I've not come up against any sort of brick walls yet. I've been able to work out how to get through certain sections of the game, and they usually involve just thinking some environmental puzzle solving. So thinking how you can use your environment to get from A to B. And it doesn't take too much to work out, and it's just challenging enough at this point that makes the game accessible, which I really liked about it. But it's just really hard to put down. The gameplay is incredibly smooth. I have no issues with the control or anything like that. Presentation is top notch. Design is wonderful. It's got some great ideas. It's also quite bleak in some of the imagery you see throughout as you move through the different areas of it. It seems that you're on a ship, and you know you may see a noose hanging from the ceiling, with the pair of legs dangling there. So this isn't a game for little kids at all. I mean, it's similar in tone to something like Limbo or Inside. So that's just a warning that it's not really suitable for younger gamers at all. I, for one, really like what I played of it so far, and as I said, it was very difficult to actually stop playing this when I had a quick go on it this morning. So yeah, it's a glowing recommendation from me, Little Nightmares. It's a reasonably affordable game. I think that's reflected in its length. I don't think it's the longest video game out there, but that's absolutely fine for me. I don't mind a shorter experience. So yeah, it would definitely get my recommendation. Pick it up if it sounds like something you'd like to try out. And that's it for this episode of Parry's Pickups. Thanks very much for checking out the video. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Like and subscribe to Blast Process if you do enjoy the content that we do. We're really trying to ramp it up a bit at the moment. As I said, you might have seen the unboxing video we did for Little Nightmares. And yeah, Mike, a fellow contributor to the site and co-founder, along with myself and my friend Dave, Mike's doing quite a few videos at the moment, mostly gameplay videos, some Let's Plays, so they're under the bracket Mike Plays. There's occasionally Tom Plays. I occasionally do a few of those videos with voiceovers as well. So yeah, just keep checking back. We haven't got a regular schedule as such, but pretty much I think for the last month or so there's been a Parry's Pickups every week, so you can guarantee on that one. If we get games, special editions, there'll be unboxings. And we're just trying to provide as much content as possible at the moment. We really hope that you're enjoying it. And there's also the podcast, of course, Tom and Matt Attack, which you can now listen to through YouTube, and that'll be popping up on a weekly basis too. So thanks again, and until next time, game on.